Okay, so in developing these three classes, I was in charge of producing, or at least my vision is that the classes should have original materials. I think, as I mentioned there with the three ingredients of the recipe: read, watch, and practice. The watch part is based, I think it must be based on at least a substantial part of original videos by experienced faculty, and you could have some supplemental videos, but that the instructor finds. But in this case, I was in charge of producing 293 original pre-recorded videos by 4 ETSU faculty members. I also was involved with typing lecture notes in PowerPoint or LaTeX, and this also involved creating question banks in our content management system that's called Desire to Learn, or D2L. And an important part was that some of these high-level assessments are the exams, the usual exams that we have in a given semester. And I was able to coordinate the proctoring of these exams both locally and externally. And I'll give you some details about this. These three classes use technology lightly. And so I try to sometimes, even though it's very light use of technology, and these are very simple, basically like online calculators and things like that, I still have to prepare some succinct tutorials for delivering this to students that maybe are doing this for the first time. A quick look at the playlists in the official channel of ETSU on YouTube. There are 52 original videos of Calculus 2, 117 of linear algebra, and 124 in differential equations. As far as the adopted textbooks, I made a point to use textbooks that are they're part of the initiative that's sponsored by the American Institute of Mathematics. It's called the Open Textbook Initiative. And that initiative is also lined up or in agreement with a much bigger program. It's called the Open Textbook Library. So Open Textbook means that these textbooks are free if you download the PDF version of the book. If you want a hard copy, a paper copy, there are options for printing on demand that usually are very moderate in cost when compared to the usual textbooks of a similar nature with some of the usual publishers. Okay, so when you develop an online class, you undergo a formal process of review and evaluation here at ETSU. That's performed by the Academic Technology Services Department, and in that process there are very long set guidelines and criteria that are used to review each of these classes. And so there is a way, there's a scale from 0 to 100% of a score that is produced as an output of the evaluation. And according to that percentage obtained, then there are 4 categories. And so the top category is the category of excellent. And in this case, these 3 classes obtain a score of excellent. This would be excellence in design. Basically, this is scoring the lesson plans. This is taking a look at in theory, how you have organized the class, and it's a very competitive point of departure. Some of the things that were responsible, that were highly scored or favorite scored, responsible for earning this excellent evaluation review include the nature of having original material that is comprehensive, varied, and together with supplemental material. The assessment methods were varied, provided opportunities for students to measure the progress all along. The gradebook, it was set up. I think at this point about the gradebook is mostly making sure the students have solid knowledge of the academic standing at any given point. And another important point was something that relates to what I mentioned earlier about student engagement and student participation, so that there is a design from the start where there are opportunities for students to interact and participate with each other, and certainly for students and faculty members to also, participate or generate conversations. So that was good in terms of the theory, right? In terms of designing the lesson plans, designing the class. Now, once you implement the class, that's really when you have the reality check. That's that's how, that's another important part, right? So in the summer, I was a coordinator of 3 synchronous online classes, and I worked very closely with my collaborators. And we have a very interesting group. So Michael Garrett had experience teaching online classes at a graduate level, but those were education classes. Now, he had taught Calculus 2 as an on-ground class before, but he had never taught Calculus 2 as an online class. However, he had extensive experience teaching online at a different level. Then Jonathan Hicks has extensive experience teaching many, many things, but certainly, specifically a class is a general education class in mathematics. He has a lot of experience teaching this class both in person and also online, but online over a very short period of time, over 3 weeks in the winter session. And that on its own, it's a very challenging task. However, John had never taught linear algebra, neither on ground nor online, and that was his class. And I was coming in with experience of developing the 3 classes as asynchronous online classes, teaching 2 of them, and in fact having the opportunity to teach 2 of them with a diversified portfolio, meaning that I taught both differential equations and linear algebra in a way in which I had an on-ground section in Johnson City, I had a section in Kingsport, I had a video streaming section, and then I had another section that was, the pre-recorded video type of online. I had all those sections running simultaneously at the same time. So we spent many hours. We went to the library. We wrote on the board. It was very interesting, and we drafted this plan to provide students with feedback. First bullet point here, provide them office hours. Some of them will be able to come in person, but certainly in the summer we had populations that were located outside of Johnson City and outside of the state. So make sure that video conference technology was available for office hours. Supplemental instruction. I have a few things to say about this. We implemented SI with live video streaming, and then also kept an archive of recordings. And we use both automatically graded questions. Now, when you use these banks, question banks for automatically graded questions, it's easy to, you're not going to use that and just give the students just one submission, because that's what you would do if you're grading manually. So the idea there is the student receives instantaneous feedback about, is this entire question incorrect, or what parts of the questions are correct and what parts are not. And then the idea is that you would give the student an opportunity to resubmit. We decided that instead of having unlimited submissions, it was more constructive to give more than one submission, but have a limited number, usually 5 or 10 submissions. And then we implemented this idea of the manually graded questions, which we decided to call portfolio exercises. The idea inspired by the visual arts or the performing arts, where this idea of a portfolio is they have literally a binder with photographs or things of the work that they're doing. Our students here are every week working on problems, and at the very end they could print out all their worked solutions. They could put that in a binder, and that literally would be a portfolio, a mathematical portfolio of exercises. And then we decided to have proctored examinations that had a mixture of automatically graded questions with manually graded questions that were collected as handwritten responses. Another important part of the feedback they were receiving were reports of online activity.